This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Rationalization of N.C.E.R.T. curriculum. The participants are Dr. J.S. Rajput, former Director, N.C.E.R.T., and Anubha Rohatgi, AIR correspondent.
The National Council of Educational Research and Training N.C.E.R.T. recently carried out a syllabus rationalization exercise in some subjects. To learn more about this exercise and discuss it in detail, we have with us Dr. J.S. Rajput, former Director of N.C.E.R.T. Dr. Rajput, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Dr. Rajput, the N.C.E.R.T. recently rationalized the syllabus of some subjects for various classes. First of all, what we would like to know is, what is meant by syllabus rationalization?
It's not a syllabus rationalization. What they have done is they have removed some portions from the textbooks. And this has been done 3 years ago also. It was done when I was the Director of N.C.E.R.T. because there are various factors because of which changes are necessary. For example, during the last couple of years, curriculum load has been a big issue. And to reduce the curriculum load, you have to see the entire textbooks and see what portions are in fact not that much necessary as they were about say 15 years ago or 20 years ago. We all know things are changing fast. The pedagogy is changing fast. The supporting systems in learning and teaching are changing fast. Then there are new things which have to be added. And you cannot go on adding new things by retaining all that was being taught in the past. So somewhere reduction is necessary. Some rationalization could also be because of certain regions, certain areas might have been covered more extensively than they deserve, or certain areas might have ignored. Not deliberately, but this does happen. Some areas are there which have become more important now than earlier. For example, take the case of raw material education. It became important only after 1970 onwards. Gender issues became very significant after independence and textbooks had to respond to that also. So textbooks are supposed to respond to the changes that are taking outside, bring them within themselves, and therefore some reductions are necessary, some deletions are also necessary. This is the basic principle on which the whole thing works.
Like you mentioned that the various reasons or the various points for which rationalization is done. But at this particular time, the most latest rationalization which has been done by N.C.E.R.T., were there any other factors to be considered like the COVID period which just happened?
COVID is one of the examples that I could have mentioned earlier when I was making this statement why changes take place. In this context, I will tell you that in our case, it takes a lot of time to change the textbooks. Normally, countries which are ahead in education, they change their textbooks in 3 to 5 years. In addition to that, there is also a concept of frontline curriculum, which means that within a year, something may happen that important that next year children must be made aware of it. COVID is one such example. Now, after 2 years of COVID, can you think of any textbook or any school textbook or university textbooks or a research issue where COVID can be ignored? No, it cannot be. And therefore, to bring in that in the right perspective, certain deletions will have to be made. And you have pointed out a very right example. This is a very right example which would clarify the situation to one and all. So there could be other factors also. For example, air pollution. Air pollution or climate change. They have become now far more important than they were about say 15 years ago or 20 years ago. And therefore they must find a more intensive description and articulation in the textbooks.
Can you take us through the process of rationalization exercise? How exactly is it done?
You see, for that one has to understand the way N.C.E.R.T. writes its textbooks. N.C.E.R.T. is an advisory body created as an association under the Rationalisation of Association Act. It has now acquired a credibility as the lead institutions, not only in India but global. All its curriculum development, syllabus preparation and textbook writings are based upon the contributions of experts from various states. Teachers, teacher educators, researchers, people working in top-level scientific institutions, sociological institutions, IITs. They come, they decide what is to be written in the book, what is to be included in the book, what is to be deleted from the book, what should be the volume of each chapter, and how does it relate to other subjects, because you cannot think of a subject in isolation. This is number one. Number two, once a manuscript is ready, it goes through a series of processes and editing. And that is why the credibility of the N.C.E.R.T. books is very high. You can ask any young person, he will tell you that yes, it is the N.C.E.R.T. book that has contributed in his growing up. Now, after 5 years or after any number of years which we may have spent in not rewriting the textbooks, this is the year when the national policy has come and new curriculum has been prepared almost. Syllabi are also being prepared. New textbooks shall be written. There would be a lot of reports in the NCERT when people would have pointed out incorrect insertions, mistakes, suggestions to include certain things, to point out that this is not relevant. So many suggestions come. And every year these files are reviewed by those who are going to order the reprint of the books. That is usual thing every year. But when it comes to writing new textbooks in accordance with the new syllabus, we invite experts and tell them what do they think in their subject is more relevant, what is the priority order, and how they feel that their subject would be up to date only if it is modified in a certain way. There are textbook writers which include top experts, then there are editors, then there are those who coordinate the whole thing in the curriculum group, and that is why these books have acquired a stature and credibility.
Dr. Rajput, as you just told us that the process involves consultation with subject experts, teachers and so many more people. Can you elaborate on the various experts who were consulted this time and what were their viewpoints?
No, I cannot because, I have not gone through that process.
Right.
I can tell you about the time when we began preparing the curriculum. We invited a good number of about 12 experts, top-level experts, just to tell us how should we change the curriculum. We had not done any exercise. I had written a paper, why it is necessary. We invited Professor Ishpal, we invited Kapila Vatsyayan, we invited S.S. Kasim, we invited Yogendra Singh, and like this. This is what we did. Then we decided now to write down the curriculum. Policy we had. I hope the NCERT has followed the same thing. The experts tell us what is the latest in their subject area, what children in schools must be made aware of, what should they be inspired to read in their higher classes when they go to in their specialized education in this undergraduate and postgraduate level. From there we derive the ideas.
Right.
You see, NCERT consists of experts who have considerable international experience. They are respected outside India, perhaps much more than within India, and they have the idea how things are taking place outside. I will tell you, when we were working, we took a lot of guidance from a report prepared by the UNESCO, which was based upon what would be the shape of global education in the 21st century. It was released in 1996 in Geneva, and I was present there. I read it thoroughly, discussed it with my colleagues, and then we framed our ideas because even in 1996, UNESCO has said education in every country must be rooted to culture, committed to progress. Be ready to utilize new knowledge, know about new knowledge, if possible contribute to new knowledge, but never give up your traditional systems of knowledge quest, knowledge acquisition and knowledge distribution. This particular point has been brought up very prominently this time in the National Education Policy 2020. And I think this will guide us. Apart from these other factors which we have just discussed, curriculum load, relevance, and then integration of skill orientation and academic aspects. This is very important. It will generate interest. There is another issue. The child now can read physics and philosophy, chemistry and biology, whatever he wants. This flexibility, once it becomes operational, will definitely contribute to the talent nurturance in our country.
You mentioned, of course, the curriculum load of school-going children. So various stakeholders and even the Parliament Standing Committee from time and again have raised concerns about this curriculum load. That must also be a consideration for NCERT every time it goes in for rationalization process?
You see, NCERT has this consideration and we all are aware of it. But we also know another factor which is not discussed by the Parliamentary Committee probably and people who are normally complain of this. To a great extent, this curriculum load phenomena has become the major issue in the private schools. Our NCERT books are priced very rationally, very reasonably, affordable they are. But you go to a private school and they will prescribe their own books, which will be very costly, and that becomes a burden. Children and parents want to read the NCERT books, but schools force them. So this is a phenomena which is also causing a lot of disturbance to the children. NCERT books, when they are read in the schools, CBSE, the issue of curriculum load is limited, and every year we are taking cognizance of this.
As an autonomous organization which assists and advises the government on various aspects of school education in India, how significant is the role of NCERT in helping students adapt to this ever-evolving digital era?
NCERT is the key organization in this. It has a Central Institute of Education Technology, which is a very big institution and is doing all these things in these areas, because we know you can go to digital areas only if you go to teacher training institutions, train the teacher educators, and train the teachers. That is what NCERT is doing, preparing materials for them, telecasting things that they are preparing for this. Online, offline trainings are being done. Even in the state governments, we have state institutes of education technology, which take their guidance from the NCERT's Central Institute of Education Technology.
There are new areas of knowledge coming up with each passing day, and NCERT also plans to introduce new topics in the coming years. With that in mind, how important is the process of rationalization to ensure that the curriculum load does not increase?
No, I think this is what we have been talking about. This is a process that will take place. Now it will be before all of us, say within a year or so. When the new textbooks comes, we shall understand what has really been achieved. Theoretically, we all know what is to be done, but we shall be seeing it in actual form when the new textbooks appear in the market.
As a former director of such a prestigious organization, what do you think is NCERT's role in maintaining the balance between our tradition, our culture, and the future as far as education is concerned?
NCERT, as I told you, rooted to culture, committed to knowledge, new knowledge. Rooted to culture, committed to future developments, new knowledge. So NCERT is supposed to create knowledge, disseminate knowledge, and also ensure that there is a continuity of tradition, but at the same time, we are ahead in the new knowledge. Our young people who have gone to Silicon Valley or to NASA earlier, they have established that our teachers know how traditionally we have been the leaders in knowledge generation and knowledge transmission. We have a tradition, we shall definitely succeed and succeed more. The new policy will ensure that there is a greater and greater participation of children, because they will not be bound by a certain traditional subject orientation. As I told you, they can read physics and philosophy. Einstein has said that if he was to make a curriculum, he will teach only two subjects, music and mathematics. That is the type of approach that is coming up now in the new policy, and I'm sure it will help.
Last question, what are some of the initiatives of NCERT to help students cope with stress and anxiety and facilitate learning?
You see, there is a process of consistent reorientation of teachers. And there, NCERT has a department of psychology. There are people who are subject experts and also experts in psychology. They interact with these teachers. This is the most important contribution that NCERT makes. They prepare materials for teachers. They prepare materials for teacher requests, how to help students, how to interact with them. And there is a basic principle in this. Every child, Sri Aurobindo has said, it's a very important sentence which people have to understand with a lot of attention. The sentence is, nothing can be taught, which means everything the child discovers and teacher assists, encourages, inspires. That is the type of pedagogy that is being propagated by the NCERT.
Dr. Rajput, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on rationalization of N.C.E.R.T. curriculum. The participants were Dr. J.S. Rajput, former Director, N.C.E.R.T., and Anubha Rohatgi, AIR correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 928-909-4044.